Hello everybody, my name is Antwim. Welcome to a brand new Let's Play series in Hearts of Iron 4, The New Order. Today we're going to be playing as the Iberian Union, the union between Spain and Portugal. We're going to read the description. It has been a few months since we last played The New Order. I believe there's been one or two updates since then. But the Iberian Union. The Iberian Union formed in the aftermath of the new European order forged by the hated Greater German Reich, stands in a volatile position. The Union, once viewed as a necessity to defend against further aggression, has devolved into a nightmare of bureaucracy and disorder. I'm gonna scroll with this. The scroll wheel doesn't actually work. When Germany plunged the world into conflict, the younger regimes of Franco Spain and Salazar's Portugal attempted to maintain neutrality, with both the British and German attempting to court the Iberians to join their respective alliances. The two leaders would sign the Iberian Pact in 1942, guaranteeing peace between both nations. While peace would reign in the peninsula itself, the war would be brought to their colonial empires. First in 1942 with the Japanese siege of Timor-Leste, and then in the later stage of the war with the Spanish invasion of French West Africa. As the war slowly fizzled out, the Spanish would seize the opportunity to reclaim Gibraltar from the fading British Empire, as well as continuing their push into Africa, coming into conflict with local rebel groups that had swept the remaining Free French forces out of their lands. In the midst of the chaos, the victorious Germans would begin construction of the Gibraltar Dam, a key piece of their ambitious anti-Europa plan. In the late 1940s, German invasion would seize the gems of the Portuguese Empire, Mozambique and Angola. Shocked and terrified of losing even more in the face of German aggression, the Spanish and Portuguese governments entered into negotiations to expand the Iberian Pact, culminating in the creation of the Iberian Union, merging the two national governments. Yeah. The newborn nation would immediately face the result of Antilopa, seeing its eastern port cities devastated by the German project. In the early 1950s, the German abandoned Gibraltar Dam as the European economy collapsed, leaving the Iberians to pick up the pieces of the incomplete dam. The Union, dominated by anti-German sentiment, found unlikely allies in the Italian Empire and the Turkish regime in Turkey, forming an alliance of convenience against the Germans. Despite disputes over Algeria and the rights of the now Italian Suez Canal, the alliance has held against all odds. As the years trickled by, the flaws of the Union structure had begun to show. The equal power given to Salazar and Franco, while necessary at the creation of the Union, has also proven to be a curse, with the near constant bickering of the Cabildos becoming an accepted reality of the nation. With the upcoming Malta conference between the triumvirate member states and the instability of the Reich, the future of Iberia and the place in the world is by no means certain. And what are key features? 1. Manage the various interests of the Cabildos, as well as their popularity among the different groups that make up Iberia. Complete the construction of Gibraltar Dam, turning it from an economic deadweight to an economic boon. And defend the stability of Iberia through whatever means necessary, lest the Union be brought to the brink of collapse. As you may know, from other series that we've done in the New Order, there's a high likelihood that Spain might just erupt into a massive civil war eventually, which, you know, not great. We'll throw these guys from the border of France, even though I don't think there's really going to be a war between us and them. I mean, as far as I know, at least. So research slots, let's go. Well, it's 1962. What, do we have all the industry text for this time? No, we got a research speed we can get. And our industry is actually horrible, so let's get some industry text here as well. Seems decent enough to me. Follow that up with, let's just say, a few more military factories around Madrid. What are we missing? We are missing probably, I mean, actually, let me just, it'll probably tell us in a second, like, what we're actually missing. I mean, actually, usually it does, but maybe not today. Let's just go up with 10 convoys right away. And a struggle for popularity. The unification of the Iberian Peninsula has been a tumultuous, if necessary, task. In order to prevent the decisive social and political issues from tearing the new country apart, both leaders of the previously separate nations agreed to hold a position of power that shared equal political standings. They become the Cabildos of Iberia, the saviors of a union besieged. However, neither man is entirely satisfied with their current standing and constantly wrestle for power and influence. To do this, they use the sway of interest groups such as religious ethnicities or corporate interest. Hence, the ever-changing political arena of high Iberian politics is a scene to behold, with both Cabildos unwilling to let the other gain ultimate control of the nation. So Franco become the de facto head of state. If I just go to recruit, let's like make one of each, just so it's gonna make my life a little bit easier. So what do we need? We need infantry fighting vehicles infantry equipment, basically all the stuff that you would expect. Okay, so I think we need basic APCs, we need infantry equipment, we need infantry fighting vehicles, support equipment. I think artillery was in there as well. Artillery, anti-tank. So we need infantry fighting vehicles and main battle tanks. Okay, so that's most of our stuff already taken. But I think we can go like 2 on each right away. And probably 3 in rifles, I would say. Yeah. So that seems decent enough. So we got the 1962 colonial budget. Civilian factories. Let's go for business in Morocco. Morocco is, you know, definitely an important part of the Spanish Empire. Throw you in this army. Throw you in this army. I think that's basically everybody. We'll look at kind of like the political situation very soon. Throw up a field marshal. You get a general in charge here as well. So we have 3 political power. I'm assuming you're for the mod, which we're not going to do. So the popularity. The military is mostly Franco-aligned. The bureaucrats are mostly Salazar-aligned. The church is Franco. Businessmen are Salazar. Intellectuals, the silent majority, and religious nationalists don't have a preference. And colonial natives and foreign leaders lean towards Franco. So right now, Franco has probably about 60-ish% of the popularity. 75 political power to really change any of that. And then Gibraltar Dam. After the German Reich became the master of Europe in the late 1940s, they decided to pursue the feverish dream project known as Atlaneuropa. The start of the project was the Gibraltar Dam, which reduced the level of the Mediterranean Sea by more than 100 meters and expanded the land area of all countries in the region, even though most of this new territory was now salted desert. The Germans took care of the dam until their economy crashed in the 1950s and swiftly left it, leaving us in charge of the husk of a failed Nazi project. They're 43.5% done, cost $194 million per year. We only allocate 9 million. 9 of 194 does not seem like it's going to go great. The dam workers are upset. We can replace the chairman. Current chairman is Manuel Elas Calafat, who prioritizes upgrades or maintenance operations, making upgrade decisions cheaper and maintenance decisions more expensive. Probably don't abandon it right away on day like 5. Yeah, let $3 million. Hopefully we don't go like too into debt, but we'll see, right? What decisions we still have? Replace the dam chairman, add $1 million to the budget. I mean, right now the budget's $6 million. Workers are still upset. Like $1 million at it. That seems okay, and hopefully it goes not the worst. And after this, we will go for naval base. Worse in the natives' opinion of Franco. You know, let's just go for like more civilian factories. These are all done in 11 days, which is pretty cheap. Those are really cheap focuses. So of course, we're allied to the Italians. We're allied to Turkey, and most of the countries just around the Mediterranean, which makes sense. Gibraltar Dam. A wall of concrete rises 100 meters above the waves, casting a great shadow on the city of Gibraltar as the sun sets. It stretches over 14 kilometers, running southeast from Point Olivos in Europe to Port Surques in Africa. Enormous torrents of Atlantic water crash into the Mediterranean. An architecturally impressive and visually striking structure it is, but there's little positive to say about the Gibraltar Dam. No country is hurt more by the dam than Iberia, forced to spend $150 million a year to sustain the monstrosity it never wanted, lest it collapse and kill the hundreds of thousands which now inhabit the new lands of Atlantropa. Salt flats cover what was the Mediterranean coast. The once bustling port of Valencia now lies 25 miles inland, rife with poverty, unemployment, and drug use, and with once thriving neighborhoods and businesses now uninhabited and decaying. Where once hundreds of ships traveled through the Strait of Gibraltar each day, today barely 100 ships travel through it in an entire year. The Atlantropa was meant to be the Reich's greatest achievement. Instead, it devastated the cities of the Mediterranean and the economies of the countries that had surrounded it. Gibraltar Dam, the very heart of the Atlantropa project, lies unfinished. The hydroelectric turbines, which were to provide the whole continent with power, were never completed. Left abandoned after the German economic crash of the 1950s. Lock system meant to fully open the passage of ships, never completed. Construction of the railroad and highway to unite Iberia and Morocco never even began. Iberia's leaders now face an impasse. Do they carry out the monumental task of finishing the dam? Can they afford to do so? Shall Iberian taxpayers continue to pay for maintenance for this monstrosity, or will it be better to cease maintenance entirely and focus on other concerns? And a 1962 infrastructure program. With the turn of the year, the time is finally right for us to unveil our new infrastructure expansion plans. The beginning of this will be marked only by minor improvements to create the fundamental framework for larger, more comprehensive plans for a new economic structure in the Union. With the highlight of this year's project being the construction of the new semi-major road outside Madrid, Cadillo Franco has taken a surprising amount of interest in the construction. Reportedly, he has been visiting different sites and inspecting work regularly with keen attention. Optimistic Union officials seem to have missed the ensuring grumble that gripe parts of the Portuguese society as the news of the plans. Many regions in the country are in dire need of repair, and so financing roadworks hundreds of miles away seems ineffectual at best and neglectful at worst. However, those involved in the project remain daily confident that its completion will not have any hindrances due to large security contingents being posted to specifically watch for separatist terrorists. Even more importantly, they recognize the potential to start the project could have for the infrastructure of the whole Union. Okay, this is just about the moon. We don't really care about that. I don't think we need to... I mean, I guess maintenance is very expensive. I mean, we're spending $100 million on maintenance. 73.6 for upgrade work. I think that's... I think it's fine for right now. Destitute. The rickety door creaked open, only unveiling the hollow melody of a dust-filled wind, where the village of Verios would have unleashed a cacophony of bustling, chattering bells. Nonetheless, from an adjacent hall, Empire beamed, dashing towards the opening. Her son was finally back from his week-long fishing expedition out in the salt waste of Costa del Astra. Without a thought, she pulled him into as much a deep embrace as her aging arms could manage. However, as she's about to gush about her pride in him, she looks into his eyes and sees only disappointment, bitterness, and despair. Diego! A cracking voice full of joy rang out from the far end of the hall, either unaware of the somber mood or not caring, just happy that his brother's back. Hey, Jose. Diego forced his chapped lips into a pained smile as Jose's sprouting legs were sprinting towards the doorway, launching him into an ever deeper and more suffocating embrace. How many hauls did you catch this week? He asked, with prompting water to come flowing back out of Diego's eyes. 3. He finally croaks as his throat swells up. 3 hauls. 20 years ago, his father would have caught 3 hauls in an hour, every month. It seems that the sea runs further east and her yields grow worse. At this rate, they'll run out of money to pay expenses and be evicted from their dying village within the year. Empire gazed hoardingly at the rows of empty villas outside and the endless expanse of white, dusty earth where the Mediterranean used to be. Her family had stubbornly clung onto their home as long as they could, but Europa had forced her hand, and the inevitable must be embraced while she can still do it with her own terms. We must leave. There's nothing for us here anymore. Okay, so we got matters beyond the Sahara, giving us more civilian factories. Sure, you know what? Let's get land forts. Again, I'm just trying to think back to previous campaigns we've had. An assassin strikes at Hitler. It's who cares? We don't like Germany because they built this goddamn dam. How much devastation could building a dam in I mean, clearly a lot. But all of Europe's trade in the Mediterranean has to now flow out of the Suez, which that seems like a problem. Hitler has named Bormann as his successor. Nothing too crazy there. I think Bormann is not the only choice. I know they can choose more people, but I think it's the generic choice. So you are... Okay, you're Ulster, basically. Independent Ulster. Anything else happening? I mean, probably not too much right now. It's going to take maybe a year or two before things really start diverging. Bandits of the Shell. Caritao was no stranger to bandit raids. It had not been this bad even just a few years ago, but ever since the Abul gang had acquired trucks, southern Mauritania had been a low-grade war zone. Militiamen now guard the outskirts of the town of Aleg. Years of raids had turned the Aleg militia larger and more experienced. Usually, the armors packed easier targets. Patrols were scarce in this remote corner of the Iberian Empire, and Cadillo preferred it that way. The Europeans were thieving taxmen, no more than any other gang of bandits, too numerous and well-armed for the militia to dare resist. Not that they would want to resist. After all, it was the Iberians who supplied the militiamen with weapons and imported luxuries. A convoy of trucks appeared on the horizons. Iberians, of course, but why were they here? This was not the scheduled ammunition delivery or tax collection, and the convoy was twice as large as any Kadao had ever seen. Dozens of European men, many armed with semi-automatic rifles, stepped out and began unloading cargo. Why were they here? Security? Alec already had security. Sure, the occasional raid still took place, but at this point, bandits stole less from the townspeople than the militiamen themselves. And if the Iberians are here, then they think they can take out the bandit gangs. They're going to need a lot more guns. So we are just kind of down here. Let's say where that town actually is. It's in Mauritania. I mean, actually it doesn't. It's actually not listed here at all. The Outer Madrid Road Project. Unsurprisingly, the new flagship infrastructure plan had hit the same filter of survival that most policy proposals hit once both halves of the ever-bickering union had access to the information regarding them. Angry invoicing and incessant phone calls to the Ministry of the Interior and Madrid were all of the same nature. A rejection of the plan to start construction of a proposed highway outside the Spanish capital because of another trivial matter. The matter of the tools being used not being exactly proportional in terms of national origin. This obstacle had the potential to freeze the Iberian domestic arm of the government if not truly addressed. Thus, we have an option to consider going forward. Just use more construction materials from Portuguese make. Yeah, and it seems like this would be a very unstable union. In fact, I actually haven't even looked at naval bases. You know what, sure, let's go for you first. What are things here? So we got 50% negative 50% resource to market because of the dam. Disorderly federal army, betrayal of the old guard, Iberian economic nightmare. We're stable at least. We got crippled sovereignty. Basically, looks like everything that could go wrong is kind of going wrong. Also, do we really need any of these troops? I mean, like, why not? Deploy them in the capital. I'm sure really is not going to make any difference. Also, we should have it set that reinforcements are top priority. Okay, so our opportunities are done already. Let's go for 2 more civilian factories. I mean, civilian factories are always just, like, kind of nice to have. The creation of the modern Guinea. Colonial slavery began with Portugal. The forced Portuguese settlement in Guinea became the first large slave depot for European colonialists. For 4 centuries, tens of thousands of Africans were shipped every single year from beginning to the colonies of the New World in chains. Colonial slavery also ended with Portuguese merchants sailing from Guinea, sending their final slaves to Brazil when the country abolished the trade. Portuguese administrators struggled to find alternative uses for the colony, ultimately coming to rely on the modestly profitable peanut farms that used to provide cooking oil. On the eve of the unification, Guinea was an economic burden. Peanut prices had fallen dramatically, and most farmers had returned to subsistence rice farming. The cost of maintaining control of Guinea far exceeded the profits. Businessman Antonio Silva had owned a successful cashew orchard in Gao, but his fortunes were dashed by the Indian invasion. In 1947, he began to build a new cashew empire in Guinea. In the 1950s, Silva successfully lobbied for high tariffs on foreign-grown cashews. He launched an extensive advertising campaign for his cashews across Iberia, and in 1956 turned to his first annual profit. Enticed, the various investors pitched in, and the cashew orchards greatly expanded by the end of the decade. As the second generation of cashew trees grow tall enough to produce fruit, the 1962 cashews are becoming cheaper and more widely available throughout Iberia. After consideration by Colonial Budget Committee, it is agreed that the native land may be expropriated for the development of new orchards, and Africans may have their sentences commuted by choosing to serve at a half-length sentence on the cashew orchards. Now, Guinea prospers, more profitable than it had been in any other year post-abolition. So we're just down here, like... I mean, isn't Guinea... Are you a puppet? No. So I'm guessing you're in Bassao, trying to make as much peanuts and cashews as you possibly can. We also, like, own a little bit of, like, Cameroon. I'm not too sure what we're going to be doing with Cameroon, but we do have it. You can keep throwing more money here, but I think... $7 out of $194 million. Like, that's... I guess we'll just throw more money at it and hope that things go okay. I mean, how much money? We are currently... Our deficit to income ratio is negative 3%. Does that mean we're actually making money right now? Annual deficit negative 203 million. Well, expenditures 5.24 billion. We're actually making money. In crazy, I know. Estada Nova, Valho Cadilho. Though a charismatic man in public and private, Antonio de Oliveira Salazar had always been an introverted and at times reclusive man. He never married and had no children. When he was not meeting with Franco or other politicians, he was usually alone in his residence. But prior to the Iberian unification was the Portuguese embassy in Madrid. His maid Maria de Jose, woman too enamored with Salazar to leave his side, despite knowing that Cadillo did not feel well. I did not feel the same way about her as she did him. And was only his only close friend. While Salazar read a book in his study, Maria spotted up in the bathroom, anticipated of guest. This was a special occasion for the Cadillo. His older sister, Maria do Resgate Salazar de Oliveira, was visiting today for the first time in 4 years. Salazar liked few people and trusted even fewer, but he never doubted his sisters. The Cadillo answered the door, greeting his sister and her 3 daughters with warm embraces. Gosh, they have grown old. To think, his sister was now a frail old woman of 80. His nieces had gray hair and were more prominent wrinkles than the last time they met. What a lovely years they had spent together. As they sat together in the living room, a pause appeared in the conversation. One of the nieces' eyes lit up. Antonio, I don't think I remember to tell you. Yes, Antonia's pregnant, and I think you're going to be a great grand uncle. Oh, how the time goes by. But I think for right now, it's going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So thanks everybody for watching. My name is Antoine. If you enjoyed, my thumbs up. Not, we can always thumb down. If you want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.